Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
How you doing, Hector?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I'm cool. I see you got a Star Wars t-shirt on. Have you seen The Bad Batch, the new Disney thing?
Yeah, actually, that's actually pretty good, man.
Yeah, right? I mean, I watched all of the Clone Wars things because, I don't know, I'm nerdy. I think it was actually more to do with the fact, I think it was to do with depression. It was just something to have on. But anyway, I've seen all of those, and they bar up really nicely against those.
Yeah, I mean, I do watch all that stuff, but that's what I like about it is it adds continuity to where the movies are like jumping around and stuff. Like these kind of fill in the gaps a little bit.
That's exactly it, yeah.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, cool. We've got a wonderful guest this week. We've got my friend Scott Gailor. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, Ben.
How you doing?
Guys.
Cool. So Scott is a fantastically accomplished guitar player and also...
Very kind.
And also takes his pedals and guitars on the road and plays at the NAMM shows and various trade fairs all over the country. He's been in a great band called Kid Havoc and now has his own trios, the Scott Gailor Trio, and it's really nice to have you here. How you doing?
Thanks, Ben. I mean, for you guys who don't know, Ben and I are not only friends, but we shared a room where we taught for a little while.
Yeah.
So I was the clean one. Just anybody who's asking.
I believe that.
Yeah, it's not one of my strong
And if your banjo
suits.
was out of tune, that was also me. Just FYI.
Yeah, I used to leave all sorts of random folk instruments in there every now and again. You'd come across a mandolin or a banjo or something like that.
I actually just restrung my banjo like middle of this pandemic thing. I like dusted off my banjo because I haven't touched my banjo in a decade.
A lot of instruments got dusted off during the pandemic shutdown.
It's not a euphemism, is it?
No,
without even
no.
Without even going sideways. Like I started out in playing bluegrass style stuff because of my grandfather. So like I have all these random things still that.
Well, that ties into our first question exactly perfectly, which is why did you start playing music? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your early formative years there?
This is going to be a funny story that not a lot of people know. My first gig, like paid gig, was I was almost 5 years old playing with my, long story short, ended up not being my real grandfather, which is a whole different show that we're not going to do, but who I called my grandfather. Right. And he was a bluegrass musician, played fiddle, played banjo, played mandolin, and I played spoons at a big-ass county fair to a few thousand people.
Oh,
because
cool.
they had a small record deal on Columbia, and they played bluegrass.
Right.
And so that was kind of my introduction. And then my mother was huge. There's 7 of us. I'm the last of 7. And so everybody played a sport. Everybody played a musical instrument.
Yeah.
Wasn't up for debate. It wasn't like, do you want to play something? No. Which instrument are you playing? And my oldest brother played guitar really, really well. A great flat picker, does like this huge Dylan kind of thing.
Cool.
And I wanted to play guitar, but my mother said no.
Right. Which made you want to play it even more, I'm
right.
sure.
And so I played piano for a few years and really developed my ear and kind of got started there. Then I went to violin and still played piano at the same time. And then I went to trumpet because like music in school was easy. You could just go, you picked out an instrument and played it. Now, unfortunately, that's not there. I wish they'd bring that back. And I fractured my wrist playing sports. Right. And so when I came back from that, I was like, I want to play guitar. She's like, you're already playing 3 instruments and 2 of them you're good at. And I was like, well, wait, which one am I not good at?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
and I fixed the mini bike in my neighborhood because I was good with motors and engines. And I got traded for that for some cheap guitar, and that was the beginning of it. But I started playing because my mom made us all play.
That's great. That's why I started playing too. I mean, I think there's a lot of people start playing like that. Yeah. My mum was on me early on. She was a musician. I had folk musicians in the family too, and got started up early. Did you?
It's
It's funny. I don't come from a musical family or anything like that. But yeah, first grade, I was in a private school and. Flyer came home that said, come to the library at XYZ day on, whatever time, and if you want to join the band and pick out an instrument. And my parents, as poor as we were at the time, dragged me in there, and there was this array of instruments, and the band instructor was like, there's a trumpet, there's a clarinet. He gave a little demo on each one, and then he pulled up the alto saxophone, and I was like, that one.
But see, that's the great thing. Like, it didn't matter financially or otherwise. Like, anybody could get into music then.
Yeah.
And we're on the older end of the spectrum of the people that are probably watching this.
Yeah, sure.
So we could go in, and that started that, and that helps with our math and our social skills and all those things. And I think it's just something that's really missing.
Well, I don't know what I would have done without music at school. It's basically all I did. I managed to wiggle out in most everything else.
Yeah, neither one of my kids have had that option at school. I've had to enroll them here at LMC, to get them into music. And Gavin obviously is a pretty accomplished drummer at this point.
Yeah. Really, there's no music at school, huh?
No, neither one of them. Neither one of them had.
I mean, I got to take theory classes at school.
They have band. I mean, but it's not like it was when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's really a lot different now.
Well, in England, right, I went to a boarding school that had a fantastic music department. But before that, some of the state schools I went to also had pretty good music. I think it was across the board. The place I ended up from 13 to 18, though, it had like a music school, you know what I mean? It had its whole own building. And I just get lost in there. I just lived there, basically. So I was so lucky to have that. What early musical influence did you have in terms of what were you listening to when you were a young scamp, up to like 10 years old, 12
I mean, there
years
was
old?
everything in the house. Like Sundays, I'm half Irish, half Italian.
Yeah.
So Sundays was all about family. We went to
yeah,
church.
Of course, yeah.
Talk about church.
All the Catholic stuff.
Yeah, I mean the church from the Irish side and forget it, like too much church. But then we had the dinner, but music played all day. Sunday music played all day, and it was Frank Sinatra and Kenny Rogers and whatever was coming out of my brothers and sisters' rooms. And so I was luckily exposed to all this amazing stuff early on, and not even knowing it. Like I got the hand-me-down record player, like the white plastic record player with the crappy matching white headphones.
Yeah.
And we had albums, hundreds of them. And I would just put them on. And I was surprisingly a really shy, timid kid.
Right.
So putting a set of headphones on and listening to music was amazing to me.
It doesn't surprise me that, and not because you come off as shy, but most of the people that we have on, the musicians that we have on, are kind of a little introverted at heart,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, music's been an escape for them, so.
Oh, and I grew up in a little tiny town, so anything you did got magnified, so it was easier just not to do anything.
I know what that's like. I grew up in a village, and honestly, yeah, exactly. Anything you do, you put a penny in the pond, there's a ripple effect across the whole village.
Well, I mean, I've got a very uncommon last name, particularly in the States. There's 250 Gailor families in the United States.
Really?
That's it. And most of them live in Saratoga.
Right.
And so there's only 3 Scott Gailors in the entire world.
Wow.
I can't fuck up.
Right, yeah. It's definitely you.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's my dad. Well, my dad passed, but prior to that, so there was a lot of weight that got carried with that.
Was your father Scott Gailor as well?
My father was Earl. I'm also Earl Scott.
Okay.
Everybody's Earl something in my family, and that nobody goes by Earl.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be some smart ass who's going to type in a YouTube comment, I knew you was Earl. Yeah, okay. Then no, you didn't, because my real friends didn't. But whatever. It's a long... Well, you're from England. You know how the surname thing works. And
Yeah.
if I got called Earl Scott, I was in trouble, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or just Earl was even worse. That means, like, I was just going to... My ass was getting kicked. Like, there was no...
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, man. I come from a Cuban family, so if your full name was called out, you better either run or, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Yeah, no. And, my brother was an amazing baseball player and got drafted, and that's a pretty big shadow in that town. Like, it was an interesting thing.
That's a big shadow in any town.
Well, yeah. And then, my pop's owning the biggest bar in the town, and, like, there's a lot that goes with all that.
Yeah.
And being shy or whatever, which now I'm sure anybody watching this is like, you're not shy. Yeah, I'm also not 10 anymore either. But at that age, things were different. So music was this incredible outlet because I mean, not to be braggadocious, but I was really good.
Yeah.
And I was really good young. So it was like, it was easy to fuel when every time you set a plateau and you keep going through the plateaus, it gets more and more and more exciting. And it was really, really a cool thing to do. And going back to like, what was I listening to? Everything. Like, I'll tell you a great story. I'm 10 or 11 and I'm racing BMX bikes. That's my other passion when I was little.
Right.
And we had to drive out of town because Saratoga's tiny, so we had to drive to a different town, Clifton Park, to race. And my brother would drive me because he was older.
Right.
and his buddy Kevin and him are high as a kite. Sorry, Mom. Driving me in the station wagon because obviously I've got my bikes and I'm going to practice.
Yeah.
And my brother's bragging to Kevin, oh, man, he's playing guitar now. You got to hear him. He can play Doors. He can play Little Hendrix. And Kevin's like, yeah, you know, that's great. Have you heard this yet? And he pulls out Van Halen 1.
Yeah.
I was like, no. And it's an 8-track, boys and girls. I don't know if you all know what that is, okay? But it's like this thing. He puts it in, he puts out Eruption. And it's a good 35-minute drive, right? I mean, it's a drive to practice. And I listened to it like 10 times. Like, I couldn't. I remember getting on the track, and if you've ever raced BMX, you deck up and you're into balance. And I couldn't focus. Like, all I wanted to do was go home and try to figure out what was going on.
Wow, yeah, cool.
And I remember going to my guitar lessons like 2 days later and going to my teacher, hey, I want to learn how to do this. And he's like, yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of saying, and then right after that, I saw Joe Perry and Aerosmith with the original lineup, second row at a little place in Saratoga, and was like, okay, there's something here.
That's what
like,
I want to
I
do.
want to do this. I'm not sure how. I don't know how any of this works, but I want to do this.
I had a whole separate question about Van Halen, but seeing as you brought him up, I may as well ask. Like, I know that he's, you know, that he meant a lot to you just because of the amount of. I mean, after him passing, you know, you were just flooding social media with pictures and stories and stuff like that. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the effect that Van Halen's had on your guitar playing and how you feel about him?
I mean, you got to understand, he wasn't just a guitar player.
Yeah.
So there's like the big three to me, big four technically. And you can say them by one name. You know, there's Yngwie, there's Eddie, and there's Jimmy. The guys that absolutely changed what we do. And then on the acoustic side, you've got Michael Hedges. You've got Leo Kaki. You know, you have that. But for me, that particular thing, like 10 years old, that's making me want to tap and do that whole thing in the tone. But he shuffled. He had rhythm. It wasn't this straight driving thing.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't just kind of like neoclassical. Yeah, exactly.
No, and I mean, you got to understand, a 10-year-old doesn't know what a shuffle is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm playing classical piano. Like, there's no shuffle in classical piano. Like, So this blew everything open, and it was a power trio.
Yeah.
And you listen to that first record in headphones, and it's like guitar player, bass and drums, no bullshit, just guys playing. And I chased that. Every band I put together, I chased that. I wasn't trying to be Van Halen. Well, yeah, in the beginning I was, but later on it wasn't so much even that. It was just that groove and that bounce.
Yeah.
And it was about that rhythm. And his stuff is really hard to play, and it's not really hard to play. It just depends. But it wasn't about that. But he was he was the next chapter. You had Jimi Hendrix, who changed it for all of us, from tone to how we approach things to being flamboyant to breaking the race thing, everything. Like, the man changed everything.
Yeah.
And then Eddie changed it. And from someone who played, you know, I played in Hollywood. I played in New York City. I played all over the U.S. in that era playing that kind of music. To me, what made a guitar player good or bad was how good the rhythm playing was. Anybody can play lead. Come on. We've got kids. We've got 11-year-old kids shredding. Nobody, okay, great. Shuffle. What? Okay. That was what Eddie was. And I had a chance, man, and I still kick myself in the ass. I was in another band that was signed to an indie, like a mid-sized indie. And we were backstage, and Eddie was there, and I was off chasing other things.
Sure.
And our manager came back, and he gave me a pick. So I have one of Eddie's real picks.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to meet him at that point. And so that sucked. But
So-
I've
so
seen him a
near you
bunch.
get so far, yeah.
Well, it's one of those things you think that it's going to happen. And then every NAMM show he's there. And every NAMM show, somebody threatens to bring him over so I can meet him. And it never happens. But, yeah, man, it was just such a powerful... I stopped playing cover tunes at like 17. Like, I never chased that. Like, I stopped learning other people's stuff at around 17 because I was already playing in bands and touring, and I thought if I keep learning other people's stuff, it's going to creep into my songwriting.
Yeah.
But Eddie was like one of the only things that I still constantly listen to. And I still have it. I took a Hondo guitar neck off some, shitty guitar, and literally before, like, now there's this thing called a shred neck, but I took strings, took the ball ends, took it to where the butt of the guitar met, and I hammered in nails, wrapped the string around, and so I could tune it so I could run legato and tap in the van. or tap on the bus, or tap in whatever, so I could practice. And that's all Ed, man. That's all. And the other thing too, think about there's a one pickup guitar on that wall.
Yeah.
That didn't happen before him.
Yeah.
There would be no. I'm a Floyd Rose endorser. One of the coolest moments I ever had early on. There's that picture of me in between Eddie Van Halen and Prince on the Floyd Rose site.
Yeah.
I was so proud of that. Like, I sent that to my mom.
Yeah,
look,
Yeah, man.
I'm in between these two.
That, man?
Yeah,
Now they put it in all alphabetical order. Thanks, Andy. But for a while there, I sat in between those two dudes. And
yeah, that's super cool.
there's no Floyd Rose without Eddie.
Yeah.
There's no high gain Marshalls in a box with. I mean, he changed everything that we do as players. And here's the biggest thing. He had as much influence on Nirvana as he didn't, because I think what happened with Ed particularly, you either wanted to be Eddie Van Halen or you wanted to be not Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think there was I don't think you can say that about other players.
Yeah.
Like the Yngwie thing, Yngwie sits in a different category. For technical
like
players,
specialist. Like,
people are like, oh, that's amazing. But nobody use Nirvana as a thing since it's on your hat. Nobody in Nirvana camp went, oh, wow, Yngwie's cool. I want to do that, but I'm going to do this instead. No, that didn't happen. But there was plenty of guys, Billy Corgan, for example, who loves Eddie.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl. That list is long. I think he transcended things and he changed stuff. So, yeah, it was it sucked.
Yeah.
It just sucked, man.
Definitely. You know, I obviously, as a guitar player, massively respect his playing, but, you know, as something of an acolyte of his, I can imagine it must have hit a lot harder.
I just spent so much time with those records, it's almost like I knew them.
Yeah.
Like the David Lee Roth era records, I couldn't, if you put a gun to my head, I'd be in trouble. But I used to know those records note for note. I learned those the old-fashioned way. Like I was the 14-year-old kid in high school who could play Eruption.
Right.
Like, that was the cool thing, you know?
Yeah.
Where there was like two of us.
Yeah.
And you spend so much time in those things learning. And like Michael Hedges is another cat in that. When he died, man, that really bust me up as well, because my two-handed stuff on acoustic is all him.
Right, yeah.
And if anybody's listening to this, please go back and listen to Michael Hedges. It's not all about Andy McKee. I love Andy, and he's got a ton of respect for Michael.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start and end there. You got to go back to the roots of this. And Michael, I bought his. It took me forever to find this book, but it's all his tunings. He has 256 different tunings.
Oh man!
Wow. Now I know why I couldn't figure out half the shit.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So
Lord.
it's just
That's nuts.
it's the perpetual student thing, man. You're just always a student.
Yeah, totally. So, seeing as you brought that up, I'm gonna switch my questions around a bit and ask: Do you still practice then?
Every day, but today.
Yeah.
No, I do really. If you've ever seen my studio at my house, there's a big bookcase that has about 300 books in it.
Yeah.
And then there's another big, like, it's a DVD style shelf that has another probably 400 DVDs, Blu-rays.
Oh, great.
Is this the same room that has the 400 pedals? Or?
Yes, it's a very tight room,
It's
but
just
it's
like
my
a tiny path into the room.
Oh no, it's yeah. Somebody probably will look at that and be like, he needs help.
Right. I feel like there's an electronics version of Hoarders in your future.
No, absolutely. You know, I just always think I can learn from somebody.
Sure.
And even if I only get one thing, like I still take lessons. I'm
on a kick with that right now, and I'd hit you up a couple of
you
months.
did, too.
Yeah. Like
I forgot. My
yeah,
bad.
yeah. No, it's fine. But I'm on a kick with that right now. All my favorite guitar players and guys I know who are better than me and stuff. I'm hitting everyone up for lessons right now.
Every time I go to NAMM, there's a couple guys, and I won't call them out on air so people don't bug them, that I go and grab a lesson from. That are big names that are. I'm just like, and half of them are like, dude, stop it. I'm like, no, come on.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And it's. I think you can learn from anybody.
Sure.
I think if we all sat down with instruments right now, I would learn something, and you would learn something, and we would all learn something, and it's just the approach. And that's what I still love about this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
working on octave displacement the other day because I saw a stupid thing, a polyphony video with Rick Beato.
Right.
And I do octave displacement. I've been doing that since Steve Morris, and that's Steve
Sure.
Morris's thing. But the dude from Polyphony did it different. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like you just get these things, and I'm so 80. I don't know, whatever that is. When it comes to guitar stuff, like, oh look, shiny thing, let's learn that. Oh, shiny, like,
Yeah.
I just can't get enough of
Yeah.
learning. And
Well, I think that, we share a thing where it's like we've decided to do this. This is what we do. And
Too
and the
late
best
now.
thing to do is embrace it.
Absolutely.
Just keep chugging away and finding things that excite you, Like my whole thing at the moment is getting better at the kind of guitar that you specialize in, real kind of fast metally kind of shredding guitar, because that was the hole in my playing, not to the point where I'm terrible at it, but I'm just not super good at it either.
it's just a different discipline.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting when you see, because a typical NAMM thing is there will be 10 different guitar players at the booth that I'm at doing different things, and everybody's different, and everybody has a strength. That's why you're there.
Yeah,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if they had 10 of me, then they don't need me.
Right.
They'll grab the other guy.
Yeah.
So, and plus, that's my favorite part. We were talking earlier how I get stuck between Andy James and Tom Quayle.
Yeah.
But I also get to ask them questions.
Yeah.
And so that's really, that's really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, when you're talking about like, continually learning and stuff. I mean, people think of musicians and they think of music and they think like, not. I don't want to use the word lazy. It's not a lazy thing. It's just, but people think of musicians like,
Aren't they lucky?
aren't they lucky? Look what they get to do. Blah blah. Whatever.
Should've
But it's really
learned
no
to
different
guitar.
than any other I'm talking doctors and lawyers and what, like, things change. Technology changes for musicians. Things change. So yeah, if you're not constantly learning, you're gonna get left behind. I mean, it's just the way it is.
I mean, just to touch on that, I'll give you an average NAMM day. And I'm talking about me flying from West Palm. So that guitar goes in a bag. It goes in my overhead. That pedal
real quick,
Sorry.
just for people who don't even know what that is, can you tell them what NAMM is?
I don't remember what the initials mean anymore. It's National
Association of Music Merchants.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Think of a large guitar center, but with 250,000 people spread out over 4 or 5 days at 108 dB constant.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's rough. But I leave West Palm at usually 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I get in LA around 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it starts right away. Like, we drop bags at a hotel, and we're usually there 2 or 3 days beforehand to
Right.
set stage.
Yeah.
We are putting on a show. Remember, this is more than just me wanking through pedals.
Yeah.
So we have to learn the show,
Right.
learn our parts, learn our steps. Like, not our steps. Let me rephrase that. Where we have to be at such times.
Right.
I play on an average of 8 to 9 hours that day,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and
wow.
at the level that I play at, let's be clear, I don't mean that ego-wise, but I'm playing technical stuff for 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Then
Couldn't
you
imagine.
have dinners after stuff. Then you have morning stuff. Like 2 years ago, I got to do this cool thing with Yoshi. Yoshi got inducted into the Boss, basically their Hall of Fame.
yeah.
And I had to play background improv music behind him during the introduction.
Yoshi's
With
the
that-
CEO, right?
He is Boss.
He is boss, right?
So imagine, Scott, by the way, we need you to come do this, and it's all improv. What? And that isn't out yet. So I got that handed to me when I arrived at my, matter of fact, it was sitting in my hotel. Like, here, learn how to use this in a few hours.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so, a lot of people are like, oh, man, that NAMM gig must be easy. That's so cool. It's so easy. No, by day 4, man, you are done. You are
Toast, yeah,
toast.
sure.
And so
Yeah.
then usually we don't fly out till the day after the last day. Like that Monday is usually just like a couple hours of chill and a quick meeting of what has to be accomplished when we get back and reviews, and then you fly back in. But there isn't like people like, oh, so what did you see at the show? Nothing. I saw the booth
Right.
in the hotel room.
Right. Oh, for
Customer's
sure.
holiday, like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's honestly like what touring is too.
Touring's the best and the worst.
Yeah, because you go to all these places and you get to be like, anyone ever mentions any city in the world, you'd be like, oh yeah, I've been there. But the truth is, you've been to like a dark club there in the middle of the night, and to like all the gas stations on the way to there.
Yeah. I'm also a street artist, and it happens like every, you go to these ginormous festivals, there's 100, 200, 300 artists or whatever, and they're all doing these amazing street paintings, whatever. And you're down on the ground, like, 6 inches from the ground, just drawing and chalking and doing your thing or whatever. And come the end of the weekend, everybody's like, oh, did you see this piece? And did you see that piece? And did you see this? And did you see that? I didn't see anything but my spot. It could have been 5 blocks of art, and that's all I saw was that. It's the same thing.
The only thing I'll do, there's a couple guys, like I'll go out of my way to see Greg Koch or Andy Wood.
Right.
If they're not playing anywhere, like there's a few guys I'll go out of my way to see.
Yeah.
But past that, man, the last thing you want to do after 8 hours of 110 dB is hear more 110 dB.
Sure.
But yeah, man, people don't realize that. Or like if I do a store tour, I fly into a city, we rent a car, then I drive the rest of the state. So if there's 10 stores in that state, we're driving that. Boss trusts me enough that I do these solo. I don't even have, like, a lot of boss guys or a lot of trade show guys will have a person with them. I don't take a person because I can actually, hate the word sell, but I can sell the gear as well, so they don't need to send an extra person.
Yeah.
So then I'm lugging the gear in and out by myself to the hotel. You're in town for one day. You do whatever demo in your next one, and it's just like touring, but you're doing guitar stores.
Yeah, and that brings me to something that we were talking about earlier, and I just want to hear your take on it because it's something that is interesting to me at the moment. As someone who's recently got sober, or relatively recently, it was a year and a half ago. How do you find that the obligation to mix business with pleasure with people is a difficult line to cross? Where is the line with that? And do you ever find yourself like on the wrong side of it?
Yes. Short answer is yes. Long answer is it depends on the situation.
Right, yeah.
So if I'm out with someone big and it is cultural accepted to have a drink with them, or it's insulting to not have a drink with them, then absolutely we'll have a drink. I try to take care of my body. I mean, it doesn't look it, I guess, but what I do is physical playing.
Right. Yeah.
I was trying not to move up there when I was playing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for me. So
Sure.
I'm a ball of energy the entire time I play, and it doesn't matter if it's 8 hours or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And so going out and just getting shit hammered and then have to be up at 8 to go play for 8 hours just doesn't work.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
cut for that anymore. And trust me, I lived hard for a couple years from 17 to say 25 because all I did was tour.
Yeah, yeah.
And hardcore tour, like vans, like ugly touring.
Yeah, sure.
But you're 25. You don't
exactly,
care. Like,
exactly.
You know
I remember
what I mean?
just being able to sleep on the floor of the van and just and then just leaping out of the van, and just being like, all right, what are we doing?
To this day,
What's
my
next?
wife can't understand how I can sleep at a drop of a hat.
Yeah.
I'm like, because you take sleep where you can get it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I'm spoiled. I fly, I get nice flights, I get beautiful hotel rooms. It's world-class food. Like, but I earn that. In fairness. But personally, when I was in my 30s is when I kind of didn't give up drinking, but decided, okay, I need to pace this a little bit. I need to change this up. And especially with my family's history of things, it was better to...
on the side of kind of...
Yeah, and I mean, there's two versions of me drunk. One is really nice and friendly. Other side is going to beat the shit out of you. And there's no middle, unfortunately.
Right.
And so, I lost a good friend a couple years ago, one of my best friend, because he never got out of the life.
Yeah.
So when I got out of the life, he never got out of life. And
yeah.
I
think that there's a band, local Irish band. They were called the Hinch Mob, and they were really good. And one of the guys, Keith, was one of the original members of Killbillies, and out of his band, two of those guys, and they're like, I'm 40. They're all around sort of 10 years older than me. Two of them are dead. And it's just because, and that's not from doing any kind of crazy, outlandish thing. That's just from living the life, in inverted commas, and not stopping living the life at some point. Yeah. That's it.
Well, I mean, that's when you're in this as long as we are in this, because there's two types of people in what we do. There's either lifers, who we don't have any other choice.
Yeah.
We're not going to go yeah, I tried to trick myself into working at Guitar Center. I've tried to trick myself into doing other things.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar player at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And part of it is that let's face it, that life is fun. Let's not pretend that it isn't.
No, absolutely.
I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's why they make movies about it. That's why, I mean, but there's a point, like what we were talking about earlier, too. For those who know me from being in Union Jack when I was in New York City, I'm not 120 pounds with spiked out blonde hair and wearing incredibly tight clothing that shows you what birth I am. Like, you change and evolve, and I think that comes with it. Now, when we did the reunion tour 2008, 2009 or whatever, but those were short runs, and I knew I was off the leash, and I had Chris to make sure I got where I was supposed to be. And,
right, yeah.
I personally, like, I don't drink at home. I social drink at best now.
Right.
I think is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, and that's, to be honest with you, that's, it's great if you have the opportunity to be able to do that as a person. Unfortunately, that wasn't really an option for me. I just had to stop. But it's interesting to hear other people's takes on it, and also, not in a kind of, because this isn't a recovery conversation, because you're not in recovery. It's just like, how did you deal with it? You know what I mean? And you've dealt with it in a way which is very sensible, and it seems to have worked out.
Yeah,
but you still did have to kind of, confront it in some degree.
I think waking up and having a beer with eggs is a problem.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, or when you're on the road, it's different. You wake up at 3, you go to sound check at 5, you have your first beer at 5:30, second beer at 6, you have a couple to get loose. Oh, there's 2,000 people there tonight. All right, cool. Let's have a shot. Congratulations. And that cycle just keeps going.
Yeah.
I'm also I'm a yes person in so many ways. Like, if someone wants to have a drink with me, I can't. It's almost my obligation to say yes, or it was.
I'm definitely a people pleaser. Sure.
Someone hands me something, unfortunately, I had to learn to say no, which was a tough thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not always easy, man.
No, because you don't want. I mean, especially, and I hate the word fans. Someone comes up and they paid money to see you.
Yeah, audience.
And they're excited and they want to share a drink with you or a moment with you. I feel like a dick if I say no.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this whole not wanting to die thing with me being diabetic also is kind of a key factor. And by the way, for anybody who asks, it's diabetic from birth, not because I put on weight, so y'all kiss my ass.
Unlike me, who is diabetic from putting on weight.
Fair enough.
I've so far dodged that bullet, but I'm not.
It's a family. It's as much family as my name.
Right, gotcha.
Kidding me?
Yeah. So when you write your music, do you have a process that you use? Do you have any? Is it like, a lot of people go, oh well, I'm just interested in your process. Do you have one?
I really don't.
Right.
I wish I could tell you I did, because this is something that's come up a lot over the years. Because I wrote all the music in Kid Havoc. I wrote all the music in Scrooge. When I joined Remington, I went and rewrote everything.
Right.
The only band I didn't write in was Union Jack.
Right.
I just write, and when it sounds good, I stop. I wish I could give you.
No,
I have a ton of theory knowledge.
Yeah.
Which we've talked theory a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So I'll tighten something up here and there. Where maybe I'll put a 7 here, maybe I'll put a 9. What if I transition this? But the core of it comes. I play guitar so much. The second a riff comes up, I grab this now before it was a cheap recorder, and I record the riff.
Yeah.
And I'll go back and I was supposed to have a third record done right now.
Yeah.
And it's written, but I haven't recorded anything because I don't want it to be a COVID record. And
I was saying that, and I respect that. I respect that. We actually made one that essentially is a COVID record, but I walked into it with my eyes open. The way we did it was we actually did a live session here, and I liked it, so I was like, you know what? Have my brother fix some of the mistakes that we made and mix and master it, and we put it out as an album.
Well, I mean, I did do live at Melody Ave. I shouldn't say that. We did the live. We went to Melody Ave. That whole thing was a cluster. Not with Melody Ave, by the way. Somebody else. We were supposed to do something for the Latin American market. Last minute, it got shut down. I called Eric and Spence up and was like, yo, I'm screwed. I've already told people I'm doing this. Now I have no place to do this. Can we do something there? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we literally just played live and put it up on YouTube.
Right,
So
yeah,
technically there's a live album out that came out during COVID,
right.
but I'm not counting that.
Yeah, no, I get it, and I understand why. It's you know, it was a weird time, and like what a great time to just sort of sit on material. Anyway, it's not like you can't just you can release it whenever.
Well, like I was supposed to play Summer NAMM, which is July, but now no one's going to Summer NAMM. It went from 4 days to 2 days. None of my endorsers or sponsors or anybody's going.
Really?
So I'm not going. And okay, so this usually comes up, so I'll just get it out of the way now. I get paid to go to NAMM. Like I don't do NAMM for free. Let's be very clear. I'm not going to NAMM for free.
Yeah.
Everything's paid for. My flight, my food. I get paid to be there. It's not a free thing.
Yeah.
And I've
it's a
earned,
job, sure.
Absolutely, 100%. So just to go to Nashville to hang out for 2 days makes 0 sense.
Right.
And lose money because I could be teaching those 2 days or I could be doing a session those 2 days. There's 100 different things I could do those 2 days.
It undermines your position too. It's like, if all of a sudden you're there anyway, it's like, yeah, I get it.
And that's what a lot of guys don't realize. There's a small circle of players who go constantly to play. There's 30 or 40 of us is what I think of it as guys who do this.
Yeah.
And how I got this gig is another guy fell off the gig.
Right.
And I was in the circle. I was on the outside of the circle.
Yeah.
And I got brought into the circle.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
like playing in Key West, someone's got to die.
Oh my God! Just not lying at all. Man. What is it like a 10-year wait at Rick's now? And it's like, oh my God. I have Key West stories that aren't safe for this air, but my first and only real cover run was the first stretch of it was in the Keys,
right?
And it was like Rick's and Duval Street and all that, and it was ugly. Don't take a young New York kid and throw him into the Keys right away.
Oh my God,
that's not how that
Culture shock, man.
Oh yeah. That didn't work. And I had a combination accent still at that point in my life. I had a tiny bit of Irish still kicking through, and a ton of New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not from here, are you, boy? No, no, ma'am. So yeah, that was rough. But yeah, the NAMM thing, because I fell into it that way.
Yeah.
Not fell into it. I mean, I was already playing it, but I stepped up my tier, so to speak. Instead of playing in what we call a basement booth, I'm not playing on a main stage. Like it's like anything else that we do. And I mean, I'm proud of it. I busted my ass to get there. I'm not gonna be ashamed and be like, oh no. I've worked hard to get to those spots.
Well, everyone. It's funny you should say that, and because there's a certain amount of defensiveness in the way you're saying it, not in a bad way. And the reason I say that is because we all somewhere inside us are like, are we like getting it? Are we allowed to do this? But because there is a side of it where we're like, wow, this is like the dream thing I always wanted to do. But at the same time, if you're not organized and thorough and do your job properly, then you're no use to anyone. So there is absolutely 100% such a thing as a professional musician, and if you are then there's no shame in it whatsoever.
Here you go, boys and girls. For those who've never done a professional show, you need to show expense reports. Yeah. I need to turn in a 1099. I just did my taxes 2 days ago. Yeah. I have to show to whatever.
Right under the wire, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Fuck them. They're not getting my money before they have to, because I owe every year. It's impossible not to. But like, I have to turn in an expense report, whatever, so when I'm done with NAMM, whatever person I was there mainly for, I have to give back an expense report so I'm reimbursed for any extra stuff that I do. Yeah. And then I have, that's the word professional. We're not playing some local bar for 30 people and you're getting cash and a bar tab. Yeah. And that doesn't make you not professional. Please, I'm not making fun of those guys or disrespecting those guys. Yeah. But it's a different thing when my mortgage payment and my wife's car payment comes from me playing these shows. Yeah. It's not.
And it's also with talking about local gigs like that, there's two ways you can go about that as well. You can literally just drink your way through them and run yourself into the ground, or you can run it like you're trying to make money, and you can make, a modest amount
of those nights.
Yeah, there's ways
where you owe the bar at the end of the night instead of getting a paycheck.
Exactly. The amount of times I've drunk more than I've made, and I hate to admit it, but it's happened.
Well, I mean, I guess why I'm defensive in that statement is I get so many and I don't know if it's a Florida thing or not. I'm not from here, and I make that clear a lot.
Neither am I. It's okay.
And I've been trying to get out of here for 10 years, but I just keep getting sucked back in here.
It's like quicksand.
It's like you get somebody will ask you this question, and it's how they ask it. Well, how do you get to do that? Or how did you get to do that?
Right.
Like all of a sudden, I'm not talented enough. It's like, motherfucker, I've been in every major guitar magazine since I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
I've toured the United States hundreds of times. Like,
yeah.
like no, I didn't fall into this.
Yeah.
And this isn't like, I'm sure somebody's going to tear me apart in the comment section, but I've worked really hard to get to these points.
Yeah.
And I don't run around being like, hey, you see this magazine I was in?
Right.
You know, you walk into my house, yeah, they're hanging on a wall because I'm proud of them.
You should be proud.
But,
of them. Yeah.
you know, I mean, they don't realize, like, everybody thinks you can go get a record deal. When I put out my instrumental record and Malleable signed on and Tom, you know, did the co-production and everybody's like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to put a record out too. Really? You think that's how that works?
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing to me the internet arrogance of it.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden, you know.
Everyone, there's this level playing field, but I mean, the truth is, it isn't one, and you know, and good stuff is still recognised. It's, you know, it's more confusing on a superficial level, but you know, go one stage deeper than that, and it's obvious what's really going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first record I did, Technicolor Monochrome, I got an Editor's Choice Award,
Right.
and I was ecstatic about that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think music deserves awards. Let's be clear. I don't think there's a best of anything.
Yeah, tell me about it. All of those like I have a pet peeve with like talent shows, like just of any
Grammys and
kind.
stuff.
Like, well, talent shows in particular, like
American Idol.
yeah, stuff like
that's
that.
the worst.
It's like there could be a winner, like a music winner.
Well,
Like, I don't get it. I mean, I suppose there are, in certain respects, people can do things better than other people, but the end result, the music that comes out, you know, it's subjective in my opinion.
yeah, but you know, I mean, that's like saying who makes the best fish sandwich.
Exactly.
Well, I don't like tartar sauce. Do you?
Exactly.
So you know what I mean? Like, who makes better ice cream?
Yeah, exactly.
And granted, okay,
Ben & Jerry's.
again, there'll be somebody who, yeah, exactly. There'll be somebody who,
That was just a dumb
and I
question.
get killed for this all the time because I was in Guitar Wars, which was in 1989. 7,000 guitar players entered. I finished 4th.
Wow.
Okay, I was in Guitarmageddon for Guitar Center in 2004. I don't remember what year.
2004 was what I saw online. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And I finished also, I made it to the final 9 guys in the country, and I missed by half a point to go to the final 3 to play at Eric Clapton's Crossroads. And
Where is that? Isn't that down here somewhere?
Crossroads?
Where? What's going on with Crossroads?
No, it's it was like they rented out Texas Stadium and they had like everybody and their mother play. Like, it's the only reason I entered. I wanted to play Crossroads. Like, legitimately. But
I was thinking of something else.
I think they're stupid, even though I did participate in them.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're a legitimate thing. Andy Wood won one of the Guitarmageddons. I don't remember which one.
Right.
So
I think I just get defensive about that kind of thing. I don't know.
I know, absolutely. Like, J.P. Soares to me is the best blues player in Florida, period.
Yeah.
You know, you can we'll argue to death with that. I've known him since he's 16, 15. He's
We've got
known
to
me.
get him on here. I need to get in touch with him.
Oh,
too,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, he wouldn't have won Guitarmageddon or King of the Blues at Guitar Center because that wasn't the type of blues they were looking for.
Right.
And that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing is, I don't think I'm a better player than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I also don't think anybody's better than me.
Right. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
it's not that way.
Yeah.
What I do is what I do, and if you like it, that is fantastic. And
It's
if you
unique
don't,
to you. You know? Yeah.
that's when we talk about writing process.
You can objectively. So you could objectively like sweep better than someone else. You could objectively tap better than someone else. But then what you create out of that becomes subjective, whether someone would like it or not.
Well, yeah, but think about it. I drove you home from somewhere. I don't remember where. We did some sort of School of Rock show.
Yeah.
And we were jamming out to just old school ska randomness.
Yeah.
And it was great because
Yeah.
I like everything.
Yeah.
And you were shocked that I even knew what it was, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
You were like, wait, what?
People always surprise you. It's one thing I've learned over the years is don't judge a book by its cover and don't underestimate people because they'll always surprise you.
Well, even the subjective stuff as far as someone sweeping or a technical aspect is a technical aspect, sure.
Yeah.
Michelangelo Badio can sweep at 280. I can sweep at 240. So what?
Right, yeah.
Does anybody really give a shit? I mean, let's be blunt. Does anybody care?
Michael does.
Yeah. There'll be a few guys, you know what I mean? Like, but nobody's waiting for a song to hear a sweep arpeggio, so to speak. Like, music is about emotion. If it doesn't move you in one direction or the other, it didn't do its job. If you don't hate it or love it, it didn't do its job. Like, if you listen to my CD and you're like, oh yeah, that's okay. I didn't do my job. Right. If you listen to my CD and you're like, wow, that one song is really good. That one song's really bad. I still did my job. And I don't think there's enough of that anymore. And I put together an entire playlist of old school rap based around DMX when he died, because I love DMX.
Sure.
And that's all I've been listening to lately. Is hardcore old school rap.
Yeah, great.
I'm sure if any of my students walked in, they'd look at me like, where's the Paul Gilbert stuff? Where's the Yngwie stuff?
Yeah.
I can do that. I can't rap like DMX.
Well, that's it. You know, I listen to comedy a lot in the car and when I'm at home, because, and I know that a lot of comedians listen to music, and I think that and respect music a lot, and I always feel that there's a lot in common between the two sort of art forms, but like enough different where it's kind of like you can respect it without kind of, you can I can enjoy comedy without trying to pick apart why it's funny.
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I have a hard time listening to music without trying to pick it apart in my head, you know.
That's why I don't listen to shred music.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a friend. Yeah. Like a friend of mine will send me something that I know and be like, what do you think? Oh, this is really cool. But I won't put on, like Yngwie has a new record out. I'll probably listen to it once. Maybe. Yeah. Well, actually, to be honest with you, the first song was terrible. Sorry, Yngwie, it was horrible. Stop singing. Just stop fucking singing. Please get a singer back. Oh, I'm going to get killed in this YouTube section. I don't know, man. It's such a weird thing because you and I are so similar yet so different. Yeah. And we're both passionate in the styles that we play. Yeah. And we're rooted in the styles that we play. Yeah. And we look like the styles that we play, but we love everything.
Yeah.
Like you and I could easily both sit down and play a bluegrass tune. We could both sit down and play a metal tune.
Yeah. And
neither one of us would think twice about it. Yeah. And I think that's getting lost currently, where people are very much, I'm a metal guy. I'm a blues guy. I'm a neo-soul guy. Neo-soul. It's not that I don't like neo-soul. I just hate the fact that basic funk, soft funk has now become neo-soul. No, it's not. Wait, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
You know, and like you look at, there's so many.
That really did my head in. I'm not trying to do that. Really grinds my gears. But the what's it like? Now dance music used to be called dance music, and now they've decided it has to be this like 3-letter thing. Well, I can't even remember what it is right now. EDM. Why does it got to be EDM all of a sudden?
Well, it's funny too.
I spent years and years and years setting up raves, going around Europe and the UK, doing crazy stuff like playing drum and bass and techno to like in fields at 7 a.m, and now like all of a sudden it's called EDM. I don't know. That annoys
the
me.
Best part for me is I'm a beta tester. That's part of what's one of my other jobs is I beta test pedals for companies.
Right. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that. That must be very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I get sent pedals before they even technically exist. Sometimes they're just raw form. And I'm also very computer literate, so I get the software and I play with stuff until everybody kind of finds like a happy medium. But EDM is what Eventide calls their new editor. Right. It's the Eventide Device Manager.
Oh, that's clever.
But so the first time they said EDM, I chuckled.
That's quite clever.
And they were like, what's so funny? I'm like, dance music? Neo Soul? You've got a guy on your crew for Neo Soul, and he's giggling because that's exactly why he named it.
And like didn't realize.
No.
That's really funny. That's
but yeah, the beta test stuff is really cool. But that was a beta test piece. Right. I do stuff with, I actually, by NDA, I can't really tell you the companies, but I do it with a lot of different people. Sure. And I get a box in the mail. Most of the time it's blank. Like it's just a shell. Right. And then we go through the paces and we talk about it, fix this, fix that. I actually have some presets and probably a dozen different pedals on the market, which is really cool.
Yeah.
but I can't ever. It's like kind of being in the CIA. Like you can't tell
That's
people
cool.
about it.
That's cool.
You
My
can tell us,
grandfather
but you'd
used
have
to
kill us.
Yeah, it just can't be with tapes on and things that can get me in trouble.
Do you ever have to like I've got some friends that are software engineers and stuff, and sometimes when they're testing software for whatever companies they're working for, like their sole purpose is to break the software so that they can
that's
find
pretty
the
much my
flaws.
job.
I was going to ask if that's like if you like go into it with the frame of mind of what can I do to screw this up so that I can point out the flaws and they can fix them.
Give it to me for 10 minutes. I'm sure.
No, like literally.
Ben will break it for
One of the companies, like one of the things, because I have pretty much every power supply on the market, I'm supposed to try to fry it. I'm supposed to do all the stuff that the customer is probably going to do that they shouldn't do, but they don't know any better.
Yeah.
I mean,
that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. I get 200 or 300 emails a week via social medias of, hey, what about this pedal? Hey, what do I do with this? Hey, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is common, and the mistakes are common. Like, I fried my pedal. Why? You used the wrong power supply. Like,
Yeah.
these are all things.
That's such a disheartening little whiff of like burn smell. I've done that before.
You know it.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
You know it's over. Like as soon as you, you know it's done. There's no recovering.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my gig. Like I can talk about the Eventide stuff because I went on YouTube and did a whole thing with them about it. So it's not like I can't talk about it. But some of the other companies, it's all still very.
Sure.
Gosh, that's cool, man. Yeah,
that's
my
awesome.
my grandfather he was involved in like kind of weapons testing just after World War II, and there was no doubt about it that his phone was tapped. Like they used to hear the click come on. When my mum was like a real campaign for nuclear disarmament kind of hippie, and so they were kind of hot because they were worried, my mum was going to start leaking secrets or something. It's kind of like that.
I literally, like yesterday, I set this up over my shoulder, and I have the new Mac M1, and I have a regular Mac, and the idea was, will the software work on both machines? And like I shoot a video for them so that it goes to their corporate office, and they troubleshoot if I have problems. And it's just so that the product hits the market.
Right, yeah.
And they know that I also choose. I'm a gearhead. I love this stuff. I love creating sounds. I love creating soundscapes. I love making things sound better. But I also am not a snob. Like I can play everything I want through that, which I know is sacrilegious to people. Like, oh my God, you can. That's a modeler. Can you? I mean, if you haven't actually seen me physically live, but if I played you my big boogie rig and I played you that, you're not going to be able to tell the difference in a room with us here. Yeah,
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
You know what? This is a good juncture, actually. Why don't you play us something on it?
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Hector, who's our sponsor this week, mate?
Our sponsor this week is Drums and Rums, and Drums and Rums. If those of you that don't know, our good friend Paul over at Drums and Rums is a.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. Drums and Rums is a podcast. They've been around for a little while now, and they, as the name suggests, their niche audience is or their niche subjects are drums and drummers and rums and rummers, if you
I've
will.
never met a drummer that drinks.
Right? Ever.
I'm not a rummer, but I definitely have been a rummy before.
Oh yes, many times. So we want to thank Paul for sponsoring this episode, and one of the big reasons he wanted to sponsor this particular episode is that he wanted us to talk about an event he has coming up this Saturday. So he's actually going to be doing a live. It's not a live broadcast, but it's a live recording of his podcast.
Okay.
He's going to have on his guest is going to be Doc Brown, and Doc Brown is the owner of Really Bad Rum.
Cool.
So that is this Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. It's at Nitrogen Bar Grill and Sushi. They're at 6779 West Indian Town Road in Jupiter.
Oh, cool! It's right around the corner.
Yeah. So Doc's going to talk to him about the Really Bad Rum and his
Be the Michael Jackson version of bad, right?
Right.
You better show up in a DeLorean. That's
And
all I got to say.
and his journey, yeah, right, and his journey and stuff with the rum. There's gonna be live music there. It's gonna be South Florida born and raised Chris Springer is gonna be playing some live music there. He does a little bit of soft rock, a little bit of hip hop, reggae, gospel, etc. The Drums and Rums podcast is going to be doing some giveaways during the event. So if you're there in person, you have a chance to win some Drums and Rums swag and some giveaways. There's going to be Really Bad Rum drink specials. And Chef McCann is going to be in the kitchen cooking up some nice culinary cuisines. So this is going to be their first run at doing a live event, recording the podcast live at an event like this. So they're hopefully going to be doing it more often. Go down there and be a part of history. This is the first one they're doing. So
Yeah, right on.
yeah,
Making me want to steal the idea and do something.
right. Yeah. No, we wish him the best of luck. This is exciting that he's going to do it live. So, thank you, Paul. We appreciate the sponsorship. For those that are listening, we will put all of the details in the show notes. Of course, as usual, we'll be doing some social media posting on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. For those of you watching, we're going to be, I believe some of the graphics have already splashed up on the screen, but we'll go ahead and put all of that information in the YouTube description so that you have all the details for that as well. If you go to 561music.com, there will be attached to this episode will be Drums and Rums podcast as a sponsor, and if you click on there, it'll take you to a Drums and Rums sponsor page that'll have all the event information and everything as well. So, thanks again, man, and we appreciate it, Paul.
Yeah, man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, could you tell us a little bit about the two pieces you played? And just start.
I played G Body Shuffle and Scarlet A Noir, and the titles do actually have meaning to what they are. I'm a car guy. Always been a car guy.
Right.
So the first song,
I was wondering about Scarlet A Noir and what that was about. Anyway, carry on.
Well, I'll go through the car one first. The G Body Shuffle.
Yeah.
Kia G. It's a shuffle. Particular Mopar car shakes down the road as it goes through a quarter mile. It's called a G Body Shuffle. So when we finished the song, needed a title, and I was like, "Oh, it's G. It's a shuffle. G Body Shuffle." So
there you go.
Scarlet A Noir is kind of a weird one too because also it's a combination A minor. It's a little bit of a darker song.
Okay.
And I played it on my Red Jackson, Scarlet.
Yeah.
So,
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, all my titles have some sort of stupid meaning that most people won't get.
Right, yeah.
Like the first record, Technicolor Monochrome, all those song titles are tied into some part of my hometown upbringing.
Right.
And so there's like this Union Ave in August. I grew up on Union Ave. The paddock dedicated to my father, that was his restaurant and his bar.
Yeah.
Like there's all these that's probably the only process I have. As
Yeah,
far
I was
as
going
writing
through.
goes.
I was going through before the show. Listening to the album stuff, and I was actually thinking, like how do you come up with a name, for an instrumental?
Bodhisattva.
Bodhisattva. I didn't know how to say it.
I am a Buddhist. Have been for a very long time.
Okay.
It's as close as I get to religion. It's not a religion.
Right. Yeah.
And Bodhisattva is a searcher. That's why, hence the second part of the title is the highway song. And it also has a weird tie-in to Point Break, the movie, because Daniel and I have this weird obsession with that movie. And
it's a fantastic movie.
It's just a super emotional song for me.
Yeah.
And it's also a song that goes over really well live for some reason, man. People love that damn
big
song.
riff in it. It's a tune.
Yeah.
I love that tune.
Yeah.
And it kind of stuck. Again, until a song is done, it never has a title. Like if you saw our working titles, you couldn't even put them on the air. I mean, they're brutal.
Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, I think it's just to do with something about like boys in bands. It gets gross pretty quickly.
Well, I guess if we go through
Boys
process
and
again,
it grows pretty quickly.
Right? Once the record's done and I sequence the record, I put it in the order. That's when the titles come. Like I don't put titles on anything until I know kind of where it's going. And like on the Irish Exit CD that has the 4 extra songs, those are songs I did when I was 17 or 18.
Right.
And so those song titles, like having a list of riffs on my phone, I have a list of titles. Like if I see something that grabs me, I just jot it down.
I do the same thing.
And so those 4 titles are really throwaway titles because 2 of those tunes have been in every band I've ever been in.
Yeah,
so they've cycled through multiple names. Matter of fact, Jim, the drummer who plays with me now in the trio, played with me in Kid Havoc's for some of the reunion shows. So he still calls 17 Hands something else because it's
yeah.
Actually, Jim, I think, just refuses to call my song titles their actual songs because he's Jim. But yeah, I guess that's the only part of my process, I guess.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, we've had a great time with you, and one of the things that I like about having you on is I've noticed with some of the younger people we've had on that they don't have as much to say, and I was thinking about why that is, and I think a big part of it is we've lived longer, we've done more stuff,
experience.
We literally have
experience.
Just done more stuff.
You know what? Here's the thing. Okay, old man shouting at cloud moment.
Right.
When did you get in a van first time? What, 16, 17, 18?
The first time I got in a van I was 19.
Okay, I was 17,
Yeah.
barely 17.
Yeah.
So picture this.
I was 47.
Yeah, I literally go from being told I was going to be a hockey player my entire life to stopping everything, moving to New York City, basically, joining a band that's fairly pre-established, and our first gig's at the Cat Club, and Mark Weiss is taking our photos.
Right.
I got thrown into it quick.
Yeah, you did.
And the bar got set very high, but I also learned how to be a professional very quickly.
Yeah.
And I got to live a whole lot of life really quickly. So, like, that stupid meme, I've done more before I was 30 than you. I have.
Yeah.
And I don't, like exactly what you said, they don't get that. They can't, if some band right now jumped in a van and tried to tour Florida, where are they going to play? 7 places?
Yeah.
Used to be able to, with Kid Havoc, we could go play 7 places before we got to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. Wow.
That change doesn't allow them to grow.
Yeah.
And this is the best thing and the worst thing, because if I want to watch Carl Verheyen play, I can watch him play. I don't need to go to a show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel bad because I never dragged my ass to a Killbilly show, but I have watched you a ton and liked your stuff, and I love what you do. I just hate going out. I'll be completely honest with that.
Yeah.
But this has made it so I don't have to, and that sucks.
Yeah, kind of does in a way.
Yeah, we were just talking last week, though, how, and the week before that probably, too, we were just talking about how it's interesting, when you're in a working band and you're constantly playing, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes even Sunday, there's all these bands that you're friends with or that you enjoy their music. Yes. And like you said, you see them on YouTube, you watch their videos, you really enjoy them. And you want to go out and support, and you want to go out and watch them, but you can't because you're playing the same nights at the same times,
That's why it always cracks me up when I hear pro blues jam. Pros are working. Just saying. I know. I'm sorry. Somebody's mad right now. Somebody's anger typing as we speak.
We need to take a look at your pedal board
Yeah.
because we do this with everyone, and you are probably, you're just such an expert at this stuff that we can't miss an opportunity for you to talk about your pedal board.
for sure.
Yeah, could you-
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So that is my GT1000. That is one of the very, very early versions. My sticker is only on there, surprisingly enough, because Andy James was using one at the same show I was, so we wouldn't get ours confused.
Right.
And because we have different presets in them.
Sure.
And you can't really tell, but I spilled an entire bottle of red nail polish, which is a whole different story on there. But if you go through
I want
there,
to know that story.
where it says DS1 isn't really a DS1. That is a Tube Screamer style pedal.
Right.
There's a delay on there. That
Yeah.
delay is actually two SDE 3000 split. So one is a quarter note, one is an eighth note.
Sure.
Set at two different tempos,
Is this
436. Yes.
Yeah.
So 436 and 320.
Right.
And they're based on the SDE 3000s. The phaser is based on a Phase 90, but I EQ'd out the hump, so it doesn't have that volume drop.
Yeah. Okay.
The octave is a combination of an OC2 and a poly, so I get kind of the best of both worlds. I get that growl of the old Boss OC2, but I get the poly.
Yeah.
The air, so to speak, AIRD setting, is actually a IR of my rig. So that's basically a Mark II Boogie with a 412 mic'd with a 57
Right.
and a 421 slightly off axis, back approximately 4 millimeters for the nerds.
Yeah.
And it's an even blend, so it's about 60 degrees on both sides, even mix. And it is based through a 412 slant, not a 412 bottom.
Right.
And then the wah is what they call a fat wah. I actually got to meet the guy who invented the wah.
What? Cool.
Yeah, it was at a Boss thing. It was super cool. And so that's based on his original wah design.
Oh wow.
And the overall EQ output is just a. I have found that EQ setting I use works pretty much everywhere because I've used this on big stages, little stages, all over.
Yeah.
And they're all clones of pedals that I really have. So I've been
Yeah.
able to A/B them and mimic my thing. I can run this with a 4-cable method. Again, for the nerds out there, you'll really appreciate it. I can turn off the airs and the IRs and just make it a pedal board.
Yeah.
I can go into pedal board mode, which basically just makes it stomp boxes.
Sure.
And it's under 10 pounds, so the airlines love me.
How does it? I mean, I don't know if you're biased or not, but how do you feel it stacks up next to the Helix?
I had a Helix.
Yeah.
I had that. Did not have a Kemper, but I've had an Axe FX. I like that the best.
Right.
And not because it's free and not because I'm with Boss. Honestly, if I call the guys up at Line 6, I can get one of those for free too.
Right.
I just like this. I like what that can do. Now, let's be honest. I'm using my sounds. I mean, it's my rig in there. And you
Yeah.
can do the same thing. I'm going to buy Quad Cortex when it comes out, when it gets easier to get. I don't have to get on a waiting list because I played it and I liked it. But I've yet to have anything kind of knock that off the hill. And I mean, and you see it. You saw it up close. It's beat up. I mean, it's got some miles. The airlines haven't been nice to it.
Yeah.
And that's the other part I like about it is it's never let me down, period.
Well, that's one of the
This
things
let
I've
me
always
down
liked
today,
about Boss.
but-
I sound like I'm working for him right now, but I am definitely not. I wish I was.
Rugged, man.
But one of the things I've always loved about Boss stuff is the durability. And does it translate to this multi-effects? Have you found it being to be durable? Yeah.
I mean, I've had that since I got it prior to it coming out, so I want to say 2015.
Oh, right.
16 maybe.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So now we're 6 years in,
Yeah.
give or take, and it's been probably 30, 40 flights, 60 or 70 music stores easily.
Yeah.
I've used it on tons of. I've done sessions with it, man. I've been
Right.
late because I'll do a session where they're getting a DI signal anyway, so it doesn't matter what I give them. They just want a DI, and they're going to mic it the way they want to mic it. So I'll just play that, and then give them a DI of me DI and that, and it works.
Yeah,
and
sure.
honestly, there's a great video of me from NAMM. And somebody was like, "Oh, man, I mean, your tone sounds great." And there's a Friedman behind me, Friedman amp, and everybody's like, "Man, that Friedman's awesome." I wasn't playing that; I was playing that.
Right. Yeah.
And people will argue with me to this day because it belonged to CC. It's not CC. Her name's Courtney. I always call her CC. Courtney from the Iron Maidens. Was her personal Friedman behind me because she was doing stuff for Boss also with the tube amp expander. So she brought her own head. And so that's sitting behind me, and people thought I was playing her amp. And it's
Okay.
not. I played that. I mean,
Right.
you can tell because there's a big sticker on the pedal.
Yeah.
Like if you look closely at the video. But, you know.
You were talking earlier with us about you can actually do stuff with that pedal through your phone. Like there's an app and you can get in there and you can make changes and do
My
everything.
app or my iPad.
Yeah.
I always take my laptop to trade shows so I can get in and change. So last trade show, I didn't bring that pedal. I didn't want to be bothered. So I just borrowed one when I got there. I hooked up my laptop, downloaded all my sounds in, and I was done.
Yeah,
And it took
great.
me 10 minutes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely
Matter of fact, that's what I did last night because I have not played NAMM style. That sounds really weird. In a minute. So I had to go in and make sure my sounds were in there because I constantly change. You know, it's like writing. You'll get into something, and that last thing I was screwing around with the clean stuff, I just wrote that the other night. I was like, oh, let's see how many delays I can add.
Oh yeah, cool.
And that's the other thing, too. If you remember the old Bob Bradshaw racks, these crazy huge refrigerator things guys had in the 80s, that's what that does now. The Helix does the same thing, the Quad Cortex. All these guys do this. The one thing that doesn't have is capture. Like, it can't capture tones. Like, if
Right.
you want to do an IR on your own,
Right,
you have to
yeah.
do that on your own and then import it in.
Right.
The Quad Cortex will capture, and so will the Kemper. Kemper just feels weird to me.
Right.
Sorry, Kemper guys, don't hate me. It doesn't feel. When I dig in, I don't feel like I'm digging in. Like it just
Right.
doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I've kicked the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
And it's still there.
It's good to know. You know, like I've got just so many pedals rattling around, and at some point, for me, it's going to be getting a multi effects. But I mean, I just have a particularly kind of
Well, you have a lot going on.
unique
live.
situation. So it's
Yeah.
like I've had to make this weird Frankenstein setup where I have like a box on my
I saw
acoustic
that,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, but it works real good. So maybe I just shouldn't mess with it.
Well, and that's the that's the big thing. My touring rack for Kid Havoc is an 8-space sus rack that's still built, and I still used it all the way up to 2010. I still have it. I had it from 1991 till then. I never had a problem with it. I would upgrade it, this wire or that wire, but it worked.
Yeah.
I've gone back and forth from pedals to racks to different things over the years. The only reason I ever went to rack gear to begin with was just convenience. If you saw that, I hit a patch. I had the things I needed, and I was done.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have to. There was no tap dancing. Where when I went to racks, I didn't have to do that. It was the first time having a big MIDI device, and I could hit one sound because I want to run around. I want to entertain people.
Right,
I don't want to
yeah.
stand at a board.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to dig the board I'm putting together now, which has the 2 Chase Bliss automaton pedals on it. So it has the preamp and the reverb. It has the Ibanez Jet Flanger, the old school
Right.
Paul Gilbert purple one. I have a really good clone
Yeah.
that looks exactly like it. Almost feel bad putting that on there because it's kind of shady that he did that. I may put my Keeley clon. Well, it's not a clon, but my Keeley pedal on there. It's going to be a crazy, very expensive build.
So something I was going to ask you, just personally, but I figure it might be interesting for listeners, is so in my group, No Name Scar Band, what I require is like clean overdrive and like solo more overdrive, and some kind of affected wet delay, some kind of phasey delay, and that's like it. Is like if I got something like the Keeley Dark Side, would that be able to do all of that just on one pedal?
Sort of. And the reason I say sort of is you'd probably need to add one other modulation thing to get everything.
Right.
Like I have two.
I was trying to see if there was like one box.
I
like,
have
you
a
know.
dark side, and I have 2 different Monterey's. I have the Germanium one and the Silicon one.
Right.
I love the Germanium one. That pedal, just ridiculous. This is where it gets weird because like the dark side will do everything you need, but you need to. You only get one modulation. So your
Right.
second modulation, if you want phasey, like an extra phasey thing,
Yeah.
you need to add a phaser.
Right. Right.
But it's still a hell of a lot cheaper and smaller because you're talking about a 3-button pedal,
Yeah.
a small button pedal,
Yeah.
and an expression pedal added for whatever.
Sure.
Whether you want to add tails or whether you want to add it. Like I have on my Monterey, I use it as this gnarly octave fuzz wah, and
Right.
it's just crazy good.
Yeah. Kill.
And it's
Expression pedal is something I'm looking to get more into. thingy, Bryce Allen. I know he listens to this show. So hi, Bryce. He was talking about his delay. I think I've mentioned it on every single one since. He has a delay on a pedal there, and he just makes such good use of being able to extend that feedback.
I do the same on my big boards, which obviously that's not it, but I have a separate volume pedal, which is not a volume pedal, but it's a volume for the delay, so it's an expression pedal. So that dual delay setup that I have in there is always on, and I can blend it in or blend it out. It's kind of the Andy Timmons thing. It's really, Andy used to do it with 2 big memory mans, but you want to talk about big antiquated pieces of shit that just don't work. Right. So everybody's jumped into different things. Actually, I'm sorry, guys. It's a Boss DD500 that I really like to use for that because I can have total control. And I can't afford to buy 2 SDE 3000s. Like, it's just not in the ballpark. But I can have 2 of them in that box, and nobody in the first 3 people are going to know that it's not the same thing. Yeah. And so I use the pedal to blend in the delay whenever I want. So it's on every patch. If it's in heel down, no delay. Right. If I want a tiny bit of delay, a lot of delay, or just soaked, it's up to me.
Yeah, totally. That's just seems like the way forward, and I'm looking forward to building this new pedal board because I've kind of figured out my whole situation for Killbillies now. It's the No Name Scar band is going to start playing again soon because everything's opening up. Obviously, with that kind of music, we'd been holding off because there's no way of dancing to a band like that safely.
No,
you just can't.
Absolutely not.
You just can't.
The mask isn't staying on. There's no way this is going to work.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
It's just not going to...
So we've been holding off, but, it's coming. It's coming. We're going to be back soon. Anyways, we usually end this up by talking about shows that that are coming up at the end of the week.
Yeah. So, Scott, we were talking a little bit about... You don't have any dates coming up that you have anything lined up for right now?
No. Unfortunately, we actually had some small touring stuff coming up, and it's just all sideways. So... what I'm working on now is just getting the trio firing on all 8 cylinders. So when something pops up and somebody calls, we're ready to go. I mean, we are ready to go, but I would like to just have a longer set in case something pops up.
All right, well, then we'll do we'll skip right to our shameless Killbillies plug then. Because they are the greatest band ever.
One of the best names ever.
Gotta give it. Friday, we're doing full band at the Square Grouper in Fort Pierce. So that should be fun. Yeah.
And only in Florida can you get away by calling a place a Square Grouper and not having everybody know what it actually means.
Bro, oh, yeah, for sure.
This bar's called the Giant Bale of Cocaine.
It's a fish, right? No.
And yet it not be in Miami. I'm sorry.
And Saturday, Patty Mac's, one of our favorite places to play. So.
Yeah, down in Palm Beach Gardens, Military and PGA.
Yeah. And then next week, we have Josh Miles on the show. That's going to be a fun one.
Nice.
He is got the most wonderful voice and is one of the nicest guys, and I've known him for a very long time. We met through a mutual friend, Virgil Price, and we've been kind of passing each other like ships in the dark for years and years. So I'm looking forward to having him on the show for sure.
Sit him down, chat with him. So. Well, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you. It was an absolute pleasure having you on here. Just watching you play was just insane.
I appreciate it, man.
It was mind-blowing, for real.
You got to come see us live. The trio, the live video for the trio is up for anybody who has my YouTube channel or whatever. There's no fixes on that. That's 100% live. Nothing's fixed. There's a matter of fact, there's a mistake where I drop a pick. Like, there's nothing fixed.
That's the one at Melody Ave?
Yep.
Yeah, I watched most of
that. And that's 4 microphones.
Right.
That's it. Like, we didn't even mic the drums. We mic'd the kick and the snare. Huh. We took a direct feed out of one of my IRs on my cabs and a direct feed of the bass, DI of the bass. So that was it.
Sounded great.
So, yeah, if you want to... There's a good, there's a pedal board for you. That's an awesome pedal board. It's a Boss MS3, but a bunch of stomp boxes, and there's a bunch of footage in there of it. Like, Eric put a pedal. I guess I'm never going to escape the pedal thing, so he put a pedal cam on it.
Yeah, he guess.
Why not?
If you got it, flaunt it. You know what you're talking about with that stuff. So
I love it.
Well, for those of you listening, we're going to have Scott's information all in the show notes. We're going to have any website stuff, links, social media. We'll put the YouTube stuff on there. Definitely check out that Melody Ave video. That like I said, I watched probably 9/10 of it, and it was pretty mind blowing, man. It was pretty insane.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it.
Yeah,
It was
for
so
sure.
much fun too, man. They just moved, by the way. So Melody Ave just moved to a new place.
Yeah.
But that was such a cool vibe.
I just didn't know. I don't really know anything about it, if I'm honest. I don't know how. But
Spence is a good dude. Plays Raised by Wolves, if I'm correct.
oh yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah, yeah.
I've known Eric forever. Eric and I used to work together, and Eric's a great sound dude. And it just kind of fell into place, but it had such a cool vibe. Weird stage.
Like
Like
Raised by Wolves on here.
weird.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Spence is another one. And dude can play anything and everything. Dude's just monster.
I have to say the one cool thing about down here is it's not like we have to look very far to find interesting musicians to interview. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people to talk to.
It's funny coming out of the New York scene.
Yeah.
And I mean, coming out of the New York scene when it was hot, when it was Living
Right, yeah.
Color and Stanley Jordan,
Yeah.
and the Ramones still playing CBGBs,
Yeah.
and the whole glam scene that blew up, and all that. It's interesting to see how good the musicians are in Florida and how good they are. Like, it's not a. I don't hate Florida because of the musician. You know what I mean? It's not that. But
I could give you a whole list of other reasons, though.
no, man. You know what? It's just me being crotchety, but
Yeah.
like I used to see Stanley Jordan busk.
Yeah.
Think about that for
Yeah.
a minute. Like when I hadn't seen Vernon in years, and he came by the Boss booth. Yeah, I know. I'm dropping names. Stop it. But
I saw a picture you posted.
I got to talk to him. I was like, I hadn't talked to him since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I was like, remember me? Guy
Yeah,
at the Cat
cool.
Club? Like that's what you were surrounded by. And
Yeah.
I just wish, I hope kids or younger generation of players get a chance to live some of that somehow.
Yeah.
And understand like just all the greatness that you can absorb just by talking to a dude who's done something that you want to do.
Yeah.
And actually listening. Key phrase is actually listening. But
Yeah.
there's just so much of it. And like I said, like the history of South Florida musicians, whether it be I'll throw my old band in Scrooge or Raped Ape, like two completely different genres,
Yeah.
but two really great bands. And
Yeah.
now you got JP doing the blues thing. JC the drummers was off in Propane and doing other stuff, and of course
yeah.
you got Pooch. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the best biotechnical friggin' tattooists on the planet.
Yeah, for sure.
So, sorry, I get nerdy with that. Pooch's
No, it's all right.
artwork is in my CD, my first CD. Like I tied in everybody that had anything to do with my musical career in
That's
that first
awesome.
CD. So, like,
That's
if you
awesome.
open the CD, I'm standing in front of one of his paintings doing my students called it the Jesus Christ pose, but that wasn't what it was.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
That's awesome. I hope some of you. I know personally quite a few people who you teach guitar. So if you guys are listening, then hiya, how's it going? And all right, yeah, I guess that's it. Let's wrap it
it.
up. So
Yeah.
thanks so much for coming, Scott. Nice
Thank you,
one.
brother. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah, man.
Long
Cool.
overdue.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
See
very
ya.
good having you. Thanks.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Take it by the scenes. It's what we're doing. Come and check it out.